Hello, everyone. Happy Sleepy Tuesday. I'm tired. We're getting back into the school routine. This is our second Tuesday of being back in school, and we are tired. We had HVAC problems in our house last week, so we had 2 nights of being super hot, so that didn't help. And then we had one night of smoke detectors going off. That's fun, especially when you live in a bigger home. Trying to find the one that's mad and needs a battery or just is. We've had a lot of smoke from fires, and so we think it got kind of dirty as well. So trying to find the one that's mad and angry in the middle of the night with your children crying and screaming. That's always fun. I'm sure our neighbors loved that night. 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and all you hear is fire, 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 fire. It's like, and we knew there wasn't a fire. We checked all over, and we knew it wasn't carbon monoxide because you have to be really careful nowadays. They are making carbon monoxide smoke detector combos that go on your ceiling. Do not trust those for carbon monoxide. If you have those, please get carbon monoxide detectors down on the floor. If you don't know anything about carbon monoxide starts on the floor, and by the time it gets up to the ceiling to get detected on these combo machines, it's not a good situation for you and your family. So please have carbon monoxide detectors on floor level. We have them. We have them down on floor level, and they were not making any noise, so we knew it was not that. So we found the one that was blinking or mad. We checked the battery. It was fine. So we sprayed it with a can of air, and that seemed to kind of help a little bit. So it could be a couple of things that were going on. It could be the fires in the air and the smoke, and us being so hot that we have to essentially open the windows and let more heat in because we're 100 some degrees right now. But it could have been smoke in the air, or with the HVAC people being up in the attic and working, it could have created, because they had to drill some pilot holes and stuff. So it could have been like dust and dirt that got down in. We just don't know. Where we live, it's in the desert, and so it's dirt. It's dirt, it's dust, it's wind, it's bad. It's hot, very hot, especially when your AC goes out. So we're tired. We're really, really tired over here. But today I just want to jump in because it's going to be a little bit longer, and I want to get this out there. Excuse me. Today I'm going to talk about gaslighting and doctors, or just being gaslit in general. You can be gaslit from family, friends, doctors. There's so many ways you can be gaslit. Someone in the grocery store. Holy moly. This is not gaslit in any way, but I'm going to share this story because I think it's just ridiculous. So I was in the store last week. I was in the store getting what we needed for the week. And it was just me and this worker down the aisle, and he was a picker. So he picks people's online grocery orders and, makes them and gets them ready. Well, this lady, she comes up, and at first she's really nice, just very nice and pleasant, and she came up to the worker in a very nice tone, and she's like, "Excuse me, where's the coconut water?" And I thought it was, a nice tone of voice and all. Well, the man, he takes his hand and he goes to point, because he's going to point like a couple aisles over, right? And he goes to point, and he goes like this, and he's like, "It's over on aisle what?" And she's like, "No, it's not." And suddenly she just changed, completely changed. And she's like, "No, it's not. I was just over there, and it's not over there. And don't tell me it's on this aisle either, because it's not. I was there." And we're just like, okay. Well, it turned out the coconut the coconut water happened to be right in the aisle that we were in, right in front of us. And he's like, "Oh, wait a minute. The coconut water is right here." And she's like, yes, it is. I know." And she's like, "Last week it was over there, and the next week it was over there, and now it's here." And then she just was so angry. And she's like, "And now it's here. Well, I'm going to show you, and I'm not buying any coconut water today. How's that?" And she stormed off. I was like, what in the world was that? It was just like 30 seconds of just complete what in the world just happened? And the guy's like, my nose is a little drippy. And the guy is like, okay, whatever, no skin off my back. I don't sell coconut water. I don't stock coconut water. So you don't want to buy it, that's fine. But it was crazy. She came up and she was like calm to start with, and then it was like bam, just like instant change. And I was like, what in the world? So anyway, but today let's talk about being gaslit. I'm going to give you 2 examples of where I was gaslit by doctors. There's many more, trust me. Maybe there'll be a part 2. I think we'll probably do a part 2. But first I want to start off with this story. Everybody's talking about being gaslit nowadays, where doctors are just not listening to them. They're not taking them seriously, and then something really bad is happening. And I have a family member that is being gaslit by their doctor, and I am not, let me just say, I'm not very happy. But there's nothing I can do about it. It's not my place to do anything, but they're playing with fire. And eventually, I'm not going to be very nice. Let me just say that, because I'm not having trouble with my family member because their doctor is being, not good. So, 2 instances. I'll share 2 instances today, and then I will do a part 2. But so this gal today, I'm gonna share the story, and then I'll share 2 instances where I've been gaslit. So this gal was posting the other day, and she put up a video. And what had happened is she has chronic illness, and she had a surgery, and she came out of surgery, kind of groggy and everything that you do after you have surgery. And she was like, I'm in so much pain. And she said this male doctor was around her that she did not know, hadn't seen him before. And he's like, oh, let me get you something for pain. And so he goes and he shoots something in her IV. And she's kind of groggy and in and out of awareness. But her body alerted her to, even though it went through an IV, so it's not like she recognized the taste of the medicine or the shape or size, right? She had an IV, and they gave her an IV, and she immediately was like, her body was alerting her. And she's like, I recognize this medicine. And she asked the doctor, did you give me X, Y, and Z? And he's like, yeah, I did. And she's like, did you not read my bracelet? I'm anaphylactic to that medicine. He's like, no, you're not. You're just, waking up from it. She's like, get stuff now. I'm anaphylactic to that medicine. Read my bracelet. And he read her bracelet, and she's highly, highly dangerously allergic. So he starts freaking out, like running around, getting everything he needs, to flush her, and with, bags and bags of fluid quickly, and Benadryl, and all the things, right? Well, then she gets up to her room, and she starts telling her mom the story, like, they gave me X, Y, and there's 2 nurses in the room, and they're like, honey, that didn't happen. She's like, I think you were just out of it from the anesthesia. That didn't happen. Okay. So then a nurse came by a couple hours later, and she's like, just so you know, we have extra Benadryl ready to go in case you get, a relapse from what happened after surgery. Because if any of you don't know, with anaphylaxis, you get anaphylactic and it calms, but then it can do like a reboot because the medicine is still floating around in your body. It takes a long time for your liver and your kidneys to flush it out, so you can get I don't know I call it a reboot, but so they're like, if you need that Benadryl, you let us know right away. And she's like, see, I'm not stupid. It wasn't all in my head. But those nurses were trying to tell me I was drugged and it didn't happen. I'm like, first of all, if anybody knows Benadryl, it makes you really loopy, really tired, really sleepy. So does anesthesia, but still, you're going to know if you've had Benadryl. Let me just tell you. You feel high, like really strange. At least I do. I don't do Benadryl. It's scary. And so, you just know when you've had Benadryl in your body. And that story just angered me so much. I mean, and there's so many more of those stories going around these days where doctors aren't listening. They're not, I know better and I'm the doctor, and, or there's so much. It's just anxiety. It's just depression. Go see a therapist. Change your diet. Drink more water. It's just water. You need water. You're obese. Lose some weight. I'm so tired of the medical community thinking because they went to school for umpteen years that they know better than our own bodies, and they're able to just be as nasty can be and not listen to us, especially when we say, I can't have that. Or something is seriously going on and I need you to take it seriously. And they're like, whatever. And then people aren't making it. And it's just like, if they had listened in the first place, none of this crap would be happening. And it just, it makes me so angry. There's nothing more that makes me angry than being gaslit. So here's 2 stories where I have actually been gaslit. So my son was of the age of where he was still getting vaccines. He was a young boy and kind of, before preschool age, we'll say. And so I went to the doctor and it was a checkup. And I took him in and they're like, okay, we need to give him this shot today. And I was like, okay, whatever, And it turns out she came back in and she's like, actually, looking at his charts, he's behind by quite a bit. So we have to give him this many shots. And I was like, no, he's not. He's not behind. I keep up on this stuff. He's not behind. And she's like, no. He's behind. So we need to do all of these today. And something, like mama instinct kicked in so heavy and so strong at that appointment. I was there by myself with my child. And my mom instinct was like, no. And I felt like throwing up and, all of the things. And so I was like, I know he's not behind. So I need some time to, just kind of go home, look at my records, sort this out. And then we'll come back and we can have this discussion. She's like, okay, not a problem. We'll deal with it the next visit. It's not a big deal. He's behind anyway. And so for a couple of visits, I was able to push it off and tell the doctor, look, I'm still trying to do some research and figure out what I want to do going forward. Because at that time was when I was starting to get a lot of my chronic illnesses and I was becoming very, very sick. And my son was also showing signs of just constantly getting sick, catching everything under the sun, not recovering as quickly as he should have. He was also showing some signs of being behind in some milestones. And so I was like, and I had been going to doctors and trying all kinds of medicines that were just reacting horribly in my body. And so I was starting to get more into natural things, looking into doing things a little bit more naturally. And I wasn't against vaccines. It's just I was not doing well. My son was not doing well. And I'm not against medicine. I'll tell you, if there was a medicine out there that I could have put into my body and made everything stop and given me my life back, I would have done it. I tried so many and it was just bad. I had so many reactions and so many horrible things go wrong. So I'm not against medicine. Please don't take this out of context. But I was going through a journey, and my son was going through a journey of being sick all the time and showing signs of delayment. And I was like, you know what? As long as I can put this off, I'm going to put it off. And so one day he went in for another, checkup. And he thought I was going to sign the paper like I usually do. I'm refusing today, whatever. And the doctor had been okay with it, as long as I signed the paper. Well, what ended up happening is we got an outbreak of measles in our area that year. And it wasn't even in our area. It was in another town, quite a bit away from us, probably like maybe 2.5 hours. And the doctor came in and he was not his usual, nice, he had been a fantastic, let me just tell you, fantastic doctor up to this point. My son had been in the hospital one time, and he took it seriously, and he was on top of his game, and I mean, he'd been a fantastic doctor up until this point. But he came in that day, and his demeanor was different, and he was just downright mean and nasty to me. And he came in, and he's like, look, I just need you to know I'm going to examine your child today. And then you need to either get him caught up on his vaccines, or you need to find a new place for practice. And I'm giving you, I think he had to give me like 2 weeks to find somebody new. He had to see him for like 2 weeks until I found someone new. And he's like, there's measles outbreak, and all you unvaccinated children out there, and this and that and the other, are the reason that this is happening. And I'm like, I was just learning. I didn't know a lot about vaccines, unvaccinated. I was in a learning phase, and I was a young mother, and he went off on me, like so bad that I was in tears. And he's like, do you know that elderly people in such and such town are dying because of your son? And I just felt like the worst person on the face of the planet after this guy reamed me. And I was like, what in the world? And like I said, at the time I was learning, and I was trying to figure out what was best for me and my child. And, part of me knew, like, logically, how is my child giving measles to elderly people almost 2.5 hours away, right? But he gaslit me so bad. I was in tears, and I almost broke down and said, give him all the shots. But I was able to pull myself together. I got in the car, and I was crying. I was just sobbing, because I felt like the worst mother on the face of the planet. And I felt like, yeah, I was giving people measles everywhere. And then I felt bad because I was trying to make a decision that was best for my child, and I was still learning and all this other stuff. So I called a friend in the car who I know would support me the best in this type of situation. I've got a friend for each life situation that I'm like, okay, I'm going through this, call this friend. I'm going through this, call that friend. So I called my friend, and I was like, look, this is what just happened. What do I do? I'm crying. She's like, nothing. You don't do anything. She's like, he gaslit you. That was mean. That was horrible. And that was very unprofessional. And she's like, you don't do anything. You go and you find your son a new doctor. You go home. Or she said, take your son out to lunch. I'm sure that was pretty traumatic for all of you. She's like, go to lunch. Go get some lunch. She's like, dry up your tears. Go get some lunch. You did nothing wrong. It was all the doctor's fault. And she said, you keep researching, you keep learning, and when you feel comfortable, you make the decision that is best for your child, whether that's to vax or unvax. She's like, and that's that. She's like, he was mean, he was nasty, he was totally out of line. And she's like, I'm sure that scared your child because, he was about two-ish years old, 3, and the doctor was hollering. So she's like, you guys go to the park, get some lunch, go sit at the park, enjoy the park. And she said, and find a new doctor. She's like, don't let it get to you. Don't let it bother you. She's like, you cried. I would have cried too, but we're done now. And she's like, don't let whatever he said ruin your day or ruin the way that you are thinking and going about what you're going to do for your child's body and what's best for him. So that was one situation where I was gaslit, pretty heavy. By a doctor, and it was one of the first times actually that I had been gaslit by a doctor, and it left me on edge for quite a while. Let me just put it that way. And questioning it made me question all my choices as a parent. Am I doing the right thing? And taking some time to research. And if you have to question what you're doing and thinking, and am I doing the right thing, and this and that, and if you're panicking and feeling like throwing up, run, and no, it's not you. No, it's the person in the room, it's the doctor. It can also be a family member, a friend, a spouse even. Anybody can gaslight you. It doesn't just have to be a doctor. But in my situation, it was a doctor. So if you're feeling gross inside, then get out. Get out. Take some time to calm. Take some time to get yourself back to reality. Why am I making the choices that I'm making? Why am I saying what I'm saying? Because some doctors can gaslight you so bad that you leave their office thinking, it's all in my head. Nothing's wrong with me. I don't feel that pain. I'm not throwing up every single day. That's all a figment of my imagination. I don't bust out in hives every day at 6 o'clock on the dot, because that's what I do. I bust out in hives every day at 6 o'clock on the dot. And I've moved. It's not a house situation. I don't eat the same food every day at 6 o'clock. This is just what happens. Okay? I sneeze. It's like around 5, between 4:30, 5 o'clock. Used to be 6, and then we moved houses and it changed to be a little bit earlier. But I always used to joke at our old house that song, that there's a country song that goes around, and it's 5 o'clock somewhere because they want to leave work and they want to get to the bar or whatever. But they say it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and I'm like, yeah, I always say that because at our old house at 5 o'clock I would sneeze, and I sneeze like 15, 16 times in a row, and then I'm done. But now that we've moved, it's a little bit earlier at this house, so it's usually about like 3:30, 4:30. I just start sneezing and sneezing and sneezing, and nobody can tell me why. But a doctor can be like, oh, you're just making it up, or oh, it's just allergies, or oh, you just got dust up your nose. You know what I mean? You can be gaslit by doctors, you can be gaslit by family members, you can be gaslit by friends. Someone in the grocery store can gaslight you by yelling at you about coconut water. Good gravy almighty. I can't fathom. That's when I throw my hands up in the air and I'm like, I don't know what that lady's going through. She could have cancer and be going through chemo. She could have just lost a spouse and she doesn't know what to do with all those feelings and emotions inside. And so that's when compassion just comes out, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, she's having a grumpy day. That's all we can do, really. I was gonna share 2 stories of being gaslit, but I think I'm gonna do a part 2 because this video is getting a little long, and I know they're harder to watch when they're longer. So come back next week, and I will share part 2 of being gaslit. If you have ever been gaslit by a doctor, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. Share with me so that others know they're not alone in being gaslit by doctors. Or you might actually help someone. You might share your story and they might go, wow, that's me. All this time I thought it was all in my head. And it's actually the doctor. So please always share your story about being gaslit, because you never know who you're going to help with your story. So if you've had a story about being gaslit, friend, family member, doctor, being at the hospital, being in the grocery store, because you're using, you can be gaslit in a grocery store because you're using a wheelchair and you don't look like you need it. You can be skinny and look healthy and all this other stuff, and here you are using the mobile carts, and I've seen people gaslit that way too. There's so many ways that you can be gaslit. But if you've had a story, share it in the comments below. I'd love to hear. If you have a prayer request, I'm a praying channel. I love to pray for people. If you have a chronic illness and you're going through the mud, or your family member has a chronic illness and is going through the mud, and you want prayer for them, comment below, and I would love to pray for them. I also have a Facebook page. Now, I will be completely straight with you. It is getting going, so it's pretty empty right now, but I do have a Facebook page. I'll share the link in the comments. If you would love to join me over there, I would love to have you. Come join me on my Facebook group. It's called Let's Vent Chronic Illness. Let's Vent Chronic Illness. So if you'd love to join me over there, I'd love to have you in that community as well. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you next week in part 2 of gaslighting with chronic illness.